an economic phrase you will never hear me say. I'm Mark Stewart. This is the Daily Fire. I want to talk financial, and I want to talk about a phrase called public sector. You haven't heard me say this. 300 videos, right? Because sector implies a significant wedge, okay? A big chunk in the private versus public. Unfortunately, it's a medium-sized chunk that goes to the public, and it shouldn't. Public should be a sliver of our economy. The vast majority, the norm, should be private. It's what America's built on. It's what makes us thrive. And public is a taking away from the goodness of private. Public is necessary for a few things. Let me tell you what I see as the public need for state services. State needs to fund mental health because there's a criminal element to mental health not being cared for and going awry. State needs to fund corrections. State needs to fund courts. State should probably fund transportation, and the state should fund environmental protection. That's it. That's it. There are nice things that have been funded by the state that will be done better when directly funded in, yes, the private sector. Big. They'll be done better. Now, what about education? Education is in our Constitution to be done public funding. It doesn't say how much or what percentage. And I can still live with the Constitution, no change needed, but I'd like the workings of our education to mimic those that work privately. So the money might come from the public by Constitution, but the operation, whether you can select students who are good and want to learn and kick other students who are incorrigible about not wanting to learn out, whether you can select teachers on your own guidelines instead of some state guidelines, whether class sizes can be of certain length or not, whether Common Core is to be taught or not. Private should give every district, indeed every school, the choice to do things better or not. I think that's the best way of dealing with education. So back to the sliver. The sliver, which you now see, it's divided into three. I'm trying to mimic about a 6% sliver for all three levels of government, okay? That fairly thick pink one would be municipal, and it would include education, because I do think municipal would control education better. The thinnest of them is the state, probably 1%. In Connecticut, we have a $250 billion economy. Our budget need be no more than $2 billion of it. That's less than 1%. Now that's ongoing. That's not when you have a big debt payment. That's not when you have fringe benefits that are taking up $6 billion now and getting bigger and bigger and bigger. You have to buy them out. On a regular basis, once the debt is extinguished, which I think we can do in 3 years, once buyouts are in place so that obligations to employees are for their salary, and their salaries probably can be higher, but let workers do their own fringe benefits, you could be down to a $2 billion a year budget. Final is federal. There are a lot of unconstitutional things that we have let ourselves pay for. When you get the federal back to its necessary responsibilities, okay, defense is the biggest one by far. There are other things in the Constitution, patents, borders. I would like to see environmental protection be a federal responsibility. It's actually technically not allowed in the Constitution yet. Commerce Clause does not cover that. With the reduction to defense, courts, maybe environment, you're looking at a 2% sliver for the feds. Put it all together, 6, maybe in a high crime state. Connecticut is not yet, thankfully. maybe 7% because we'd have to go big on the correction side. We don't. We in Connecticut can get away with a maybe $2.5 billion a year budget once we get things right. I'm a fan of both tax cuts to spur the economy and for paying off the debt and paying off people who have contracts that are going to be a burden, their contracts, for many years to come. Do the buyouts, get us right-sized, and then we have a lean, mean budget that everyone can live with. I'm Mark Stewart.